Let's get to work on this Olympic athlete graphic project. Oh my gosh, you've been contacted by NBC and they need a graphic to throw up on the screen of Sage Katzenberg, who won the snowboard slopestyle. And you got to put this together. Oh my gosh, what are you going to do? Well, here's what we're going to do. First of all, let's take a look at some information about this on my website. If you fire up my website, you see that this is the Olympic athlete profile that we're working on, Photoshop 3-3. And I'm going to go to the project guide, scroll this down. Got a little bit of information here, and the important thing is what's required. All right, so again, play along with me here. Pretend you're working for NBC, and what you've got to do here is put together this graphic of the winner of the snowboard slopestyle, Sage Katzenberg. He won a gold medal, and they want a graphic to be able to put on TV. So you got to go to work in Photoshop, and they have provided some images for you to work with, and now it's up to you. So here are the things that are required by NBC. All right, pretend with me here. There are 3 images of Sage Katzenberg that have been provided. You got to use at least 2 of them. Which 2 you use, up to you. There's some Olympic rings that have been provided. Hey, you don't have to make your own this time. They gave you some Olympic rings, got to use them. The NBC Sochi logo, have to use it. You have to include his name, and take a look at this. You got to look. They're going to want it spelled right, Sage Katzenberg. And you also have to include that he won the gold for snowboard slopestyle. He's gold medal winner. Now, all the images you're going to need are going to be found on the courses drive today. They're on Drive L. They're inside the assignments folder, and you'll see a folder there for this Olympic athlete graphic thing. When you get your work done, you're going to save it on your network drive. You can just call it Olympic Athlete, and you will eventually turn it in to My Big Campus. And that will look like this. I'll pull this up here. It should show up. Photoshop 3-3 Olympic Athlete Graphic. Hey, shall we take a peek here in Photoshop and get to work on how this is all going to go? I'm going to fire up Photoshop here, and I'm just doing some switching, and I'm going to pull it up. I think I'm going to pull it up. Let's try that again. Now, this is one I've already done. Now, again, gosh, guys, like so many times, yours, when you get done with it, it doesn't have to look just like this. All right, don't get the idea that it has to look just like this, but this is sort of the kind of thing that you're shooting for. And you've seen things like this on TV. They put up, a picture. It's got his name on it. It's got the, right over here. It's got the gosh, let me even add a new layer real quick here and get my paintbrush, and here it's got the NBC logo right there, and you see him in action back here, and this nice photo of him here, and the Olympic rings here, and his name's down here. So those are the kinds of things you have to include, and they're all on that handout that I just showed you. All right, so I'm going to close this. And I've got Bridge running. No, first of all, you're going to start like this. Just do File and New. And let's just make it Web and 1024. We've been using that size a lot, so I'm using the Web preset, and I'm using 1024 by 768, and that's going to get me started. Now, really what you do with your background here, again, kind of like a lot of times, it's up to you. I'm going to use a there's one of these backgrounds that's a red and white thing, and I'm going to switch to the circular style, and I'm just going to pull it up like this, and that's what I want for my background. All right, now you can do something else if you want to. Now I've got Bridge running. I'm going to switch over to Bridge here, and I'm looking. If I click on Computer, it's just a little bit outside of your image window, I think, but if I click here on Computer and I go to Drive letter L, and I'm just going to use period 1 as an example. You would use, if you're in period 2, use that. If you're in period 5, use that. So I would go into the folder and go into the assignments folder, and then look for this Olympic Athlete Profile. Now you can also open them just from Photoshop if you want, but I'm using Bridge on mine. All right, so here we go. It's time to start putting this thing together. I'm going to start off with these Olympic rings. And okay, I did a little work to make this a little bit easier for you. When you open up the Olympic rings, you're going to see kind of a checkerboard background. Well, that means it's a transparent background, and here's what you can do. Select all, copy it, Control C, paste it, Control V, transform it, Control T, and just kind of work it, and put it in there where you want. I'm going to lay it in here right about something like that. I'm going to lower the opacity of that a little bit after I commit my transformation. I'm going to lower the opacity some. Now you can play with blend modes and stuff, but I'm just going to lower the opacity a little bit. Hey, it's a good start. Back to bridge here, and I'm going to open up this image of him when he was receiving his gold medal and they're playing the national anthem. So I'm going to open that up. Now again, look at what's been done here for you. This is going to make it a little bit easier. If you'll look over here on the layer panel on the right hand side, there is a white background here, but also Sage himself is on a separate layer. So I'm just going to control click on that layer. Oh, look, I got a selection. That's a trick that we've been learning this week, that whole control click on the layer. I'm going to copy that, take it over here. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to transform it a little bit. I'm just going to kind of move him over here. Now, in that photo, his head was kind of cut off at the top, so I don't really want to do this kind of thing where I take it down and it's going to look like his head's cut off. So I'm going to keep him nice and tall here, do that kind of thing. All right, now you can put him where you want, or you don't have to use that photo. Remember, there's 3 photos, you got to use 2 of them. All right, so continuing on, and I'm doing this kind of fast here. I want to get back to bridge. Sorry, I'm flipping through a bunch of stuff here. Back to bridge, and I am going to use this shot of him flying up in the air here, so I'm going to open that up. And again, if you'll look here, it's got a checkerboard background. Well, okay, not going to lie. I already did some work to make this easier for you. If you control click on that layer thumbnail, that makes a selection around him. You can copy it, bring it over here to your composition that you're making. You can paste it, you can transform that. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller and kind of stick it up here in this area. And again, play around with whatever you want. I'm just going to lower the opacity of that some so it's kind of faded out. I don't want it to block out the Olympic rings completely there. All right, so I'm going to do that kind of thing so we kind of see him in action right there. Hey, making progress here. This thing's coming together. Back to bridge. Here's this NBC Sochi logo, which is required. All right, so I'm going to open that up in Photoshop. And again, same kind of thing. If you'll look over here at the layer panel, the Sochi logo is on a separate layer right here. I'm going to control click. That gives me a selection. Oh, that control click trick is just coming in handy all the time here. So I'm gonna select that and copy it and take it over here and paste it. And I'm going to transform that, and on mine, what I'm going to do is kind of shrink it down a little bit, and I'm going to set it down in here. I know where I'm going with this, so I'm going to commit my transformation, and I think I'm going to throw on an outer glow on that, but you could kind of do whatever you want. I'm just going to make it glow a little bit down there. Okay, got that, little outer glow. Now we're really kind of coming down the home stretch, but remember the other thing that is required here is you got to have his name on here, all right? And I also have to include the fact that he won the gold medal for snowboard slopestyle. I got to get all that on there. All right, well here's what I've decided I'm going to do. You can kind of work it any way you want, but you got to have it on there. I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to click the new layer button. I'm going to come and get the rectangular marquee tool. And I'm going to stretch out a selection that stretches in right like this way right here. About like that. Now I'm going to take the gradient tool and I'm going to get a gradient here that is up here. I've got one that's kind of gold and transparent. You see this, it starts off gold and it turns to those checkerboards, so I'm going to use that gradient. And then I'm going to drag across here and I get that kind of thing right there. Now you can see that on the right hand side it's nice and bright gold, but as it goes from right to left it fades away, and that's really kind of what I wanted. Now you don't have to use that gradient, you can come up with something else. All right, I'm going to deselect that, and I might even transform that a little bit and stretch it out a little farther, even a little bit off of this side right here. And that's going to be kind of like one of those accent bars that I've talked about before. I'm going to put his name on top of that. Hey, the last thing I got to do here is get some text on this puppy. All right, well, I'm going to take the type tool and I'll click once in here. I'm using the impact font, and I'm going to type, and I'll just do all caps, Sage, S-A-G-E, and it's Kotsenburg, K-O-T-S-E-N-B-U-R-G, Sage Kotsenburg. All right, now I'm going to dress that up a little bit. How about a color overlay? And I'm going to make my text, I'll move this a little bit so you can see better. I'm going to make my text black. And I want that text, I'm going to do a Control-T, I want that text to be a little bigger. I want his name to appear a little bit larger. kind of like that. Now, you know, I might also throw in I think I'm going to throw in a shadow on that, a little drop shadow. And I'm going to make a white stroke on it. Now that's where you do what you want. All right, so that's how my lettering turned out right there. I used the impact font, black lettering with a black color overlay, a white stroke, and a little bit of a shadow. But the other thing I have to include in here, it's required by NBC. They have to know. You want a gold medal in what? All right, well, we got to include that. So I'm going to take the type tool, I'm going to click once down here. It's going to make a new type layer. Every time you start over with the type tool, it makes a new type layer. I'm going to say gold medal dash snowboard slope style. All right, now once again, and you can't hardly see that text right now because I'm really not done with it. I'm going to put that color overlay effect on there again, and I'm going to make it black. That's again, I'm just doing what I want. You would do what you want. All right, so I got a color overlay with black, and I think I'll do a similar thing here. I'll throw on a shadow, a little bit of a shadow with that. That's a drop shadow, and a little bit of a stroke, but I want the stroke to be white because if I leave that stroke black, it's all too black. Okay, so that looks better. All right. So I'll click OK there. And now I need to move that a little bit. Snowboard slope style, I kind of want to move that so it's all showing up. Hey, guess what? Look at that. I'm pretty happy with that. It's got two images of him. It's got the Olympic rings. It's got the NBC logo. It's got his name. It's got what he won a gold medal for. I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. Now I'm anxious to see what you come up with. Yours doesn't have to look just like mine, but you got, you know, some materials to work with. You got to use the things that you have to work with to put one together. And when you get it done, you're going to go File, you're going to go Save As, you're going to get to your network drive, your Drive H, and just call it Olympic Athlete. And then you can turn it in on My Big Campus like I was showing you earlier. It's Photoshop 3-3 Olympic Athlete Graphic. Hey guys, it's your turn. Have at it. Knock that one out. Have fun.